Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English story. I used to think life was a race, a never-ending sprint where the finish line kept moving, and the only way to win was to run faster than everyone else. I believed that if I just pushed myself harder, sacrificed more, and ignored the whispers of doubt in my mind, I'd eventually find happiness. I'd be enough. But here's the thing about races. They're exhausting. And for years, I ran without knowing why. I ran because I thought I had to. I ran because I was afraid of what would happen if I stopped. The starting line. The need to prove myself. It all began in high school. I was the kid who always had to be the best. Straight A's. Captain of the debate team. First chair in orchestra. You name it, I did it. But it wasn't because I loved any of it. It was because I needed to prove something. To my parents, to my teachers, to myself. I remember one particular night, sitting at my desk, staring at a blank page in my notebook. I had a history essay due the next day, and I'd been working on it for hours. My eyes were burning, my back was aching, and my brain felt like mush. But I couldn't stop. I couldn't let myself turn in anything less than perfect. That was my first taste of toxic motivation. It wasn't about learning or growing. It was about fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. The sprint. Losing myself in college. Things only got worse. I double majored in economics and political science because I thought it would make me look impressive. I joined every club, applied for every internship, and networked like my life depended on it. And on the surface, it worked. I had the resume, the connections, the accolades. But inside, I was falling apart. I barely slept. I barely ate. I was constantly stressed, constantly anxious. And when I did take a break, I felt guilty. I'd scroll through social media and see my classmates posting about their achievements. And I'd think, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. But no matter how much I did, it never felt like enough. I was running faster and faster. But the finish line kept moving. And the worst part? I didn't even know where I was going. The crash. Hitting a wall. It all came to a head during my senior year. I was juggling a full course load, a part-time job, and an internship. And I was barely keeping it together. One night, after pulling an all-nighter to finish a project, I collapsed in the library. My vision went blurry. My chest tightened, and I couldn't breathe. It was a panic attack, my first one. And it wasn't the last. Over the next few months, my anxiety spiraled out of control. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus. I felt like I was drowning, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't keep my head above water. Finally, I went to see a counselor. I'll never forget what she said to me during our first session. You're running a race, but you don't even know where the finish line is. What if you stopped running and just walked? The turnaround, changing my mindset. At first, I didn't understand what she meant. Of course, I had to keep running. That's what success was, wasn't it? That's what everyone expected of me. But as we talked, I began to see things differently. She helped me realize that my motivation wasn't coming from a healthy place. It wasn't about growth or fulfillment. It was about fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. What if, she asked, you stopped trying to prove yourself and started focusing on what truly matters to you? What if you let go of the race and just lived? It sounded impossible, but slowly, I started to try. I began to question the beliefs I'd held on to for so long. Why was I so obsessed with success? Who was I trying to impress? And most importantly, what did I actually want? The journey, finding my compass. Letting go of the race wasn't easy. It meant unlearning years of conditioning and confronting some uncomfortable truths about myself. But as I started to shift my thinking, something amazing happened. I began to feel lighter. I dropped one of my majors and focused on the classes I actually enjoyed. I quit the internship that was draining me and started volunteering at a local nonprofit instead. I rediscovered old hobbies like painting and hiking that I'd abandoned in my quest for success. And you know what? I didn't feel like a failure. In fact, I felt more alive than I had in years. For the first time, my motivation wasn't coming from a place of fear or insecurity. It was coming from a place of love for myself, for my work, for my life. The lesson: change your thinking. Looking back, I realized how much my mindset shaped my reality. When I believed life was a race, I made myself miserable trying to win it. But when I changed my thinking, when I let go of the need to prove myself and started focusing on what truly mattered, everything changed. I'm not saying it's easy. Changing your thinking is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to let go of the beliefs that no longer serve you. But it's also one of the most rewarding things you'll ever do. So, if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, I want you to ask yourself, what race are you running? And what would happen if you stopped? The new perspective, living with purpose. These days, I still work hard, but it's different. I'm not chasing some arbitrary idea of success. I'm living with purpose, focusing on the things that bring me joy and fulfillment. And you know what? I'm happier than I've ever been. I've also learned to be kinder to myself. I used to beat myself up for every mistake, every failure. But now, I see those moments as opportunities to learn and grow. I remind myself that I'm human, And that's okay. And perhaps most importantly, I've learned to appreciate the journey. Life isn't about winning the race. It's about the steps you take along the way, the people you meet, the lessons you learn, the moments you cherish. Final thoughts. A message for you. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this: change your thinking. You don't have to run the race. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. Success isn't about how fast you go or how much you achieve. It's about how you feel inside. So, take a deep breath, let go of the race, and start walking your own path. One step at a time. You might just find that the journey is even more beautiful than the destination. The first job, falling back into old patterns. After graduation, I landed a job at a well-known consulting firm. On paper, it was a dream job, great pay, prestigious clients, and endless opportunities for growth. But within a few months, I found myself slipping back into old habits. The long hours, the constant pressure to perform, the endless comparisons with my colleagues, it all felt familiar. I told myself I was doing it for the right reasons this time. This is just part of the grind. I'd say, I'm building my career. But deep down, I knew something was off. I was working harder than ever, but I didn't feel fulfilled. I was climbing the ladder, but I didn't feel like I was going anywhere meaningful. The wake-up call, a moment of clarity. One evening, after yet another late night at the office, I came home to an empty apartment. My roommate was out, and the silence felt deafening. I sat on the couch, staring at the blank TV screen, and suddenly, it hit me. What am I doing? I thought about all the sacrifices I'd made, the missed birthdays, the canceled plans, the sleepless nights. I thought about the person I used to be, the one who loved painting, who found joy in simple things, who believed in living with purpose. And I realized I didn't recognize myself anymore. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let myself fall back into the race. I wasn't going to let fear dictate my choices. I was going to reclaim my life. The shift. Rediscovering my compass. The next day, I started making changes. I set boundaries at work, leaving the office by 6 p.m. and refusing to check emails after hours. I started saying no to projects that didn't align with my values. And I began carving out time for the things that truly mattered to me. It wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, moments when I wondered if I was making a mistake. But every time I felt that old pull, the urge to prove myself, to chase success at any cost, I reminded myself of what I had learned. Life isn't a race. It's a journey, the turning point, a new path. A few months later, an opportunity came up at a small nonprofit that focused on education reform. It was a pay cut, and it wasn't nearly as glamorous as my consulting job, but it felt right. It felt like something I could be proud of. I took the job, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. For the first time in years, I felt like I was making a real difference. I was using my skills to help others, and it gave me a sense of purpose I had never felt before. The journey, living with intention. These days, my life looks very different. I still work hard, but it's not the same kind of hard. It's not the soul crushing, all consuming grind I used to know. It's the kind of hard that feels meaningful, the kind that leaves you tired but fulfilled. I've also learned to prioritize the things that truly matter. I make time for my hobbies, my friends, and my family. I take care of my mental and physical health. And I remind myself every day that success isn't about how much I achieve, but how I feel about the life I'm living. The moral: change your thinking, change your life. If there's one thing I've learned from my journey, it's this: change your thinking, and you can change your life. For so long, I believed that success was something external, something I had to chase, something I had to prove. But the truth is, success is internal. It's about how you feel, how you live, and how you treat yourself and others. Toxic motivation, the kind that comes from fear, insecurity, and the need to prove yourself, will only lead you down a path of exhaustion and emptiness. But true inspiration, the kind that comes from love, passion, and purpose, will guide you toward a life of fulfillment and joy. So, if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, I want you to ask yourself, what am I chasing and why? Take a moment to reflect on your motivations. Are they coming from a place of fear or a place of love? Are they leading you toward the life you truly want or the life you think you're supposed to want? And remember, it's never too late to change your thinking. It's never too late to let go of the race, to pick up your compass, and to start walking your own path. You might just find that the journey is even more beautiful than you imagined. Final thoughts. A message for you. Life is not a race. It's not a mountain to climb or a finish line to cross. It's a journey, and the only way to truly succeed is to live it with intention, with purpose, and with love. So, take a deep breath. Let go of the need to prove yourself, and start walking your own path, one step at a time. You might just find that the view is even better than you imagined. I'm so glad you spent this time with me. If you like the story, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Take care, and see you next time.